Hello, everyone, and welcome to Full-on, your Fulham-centric football podcast. I'm your host, Ash Woolford. Joining me today are the two Jacks. AJ, how you doing, buddy?
Defeated.
Yeah. Mozza, how you doing, mate?
Pretty much the same, and I've shaved my beard off far too short by accident. So I think I'm more pissed off about that than football at the moment.
You look young and sprightly, sir.
Thank you.
You're trying to fit into that housewife's choice category a bit better, aren't you? That's all it is.
Not my words.
Right, and obviously, I know, mate. Well, obviously, we're here to talk about the Arsenal game on Tuesday night. Ultimately, a game that finishes probably a little bit closer than it probably should have done. The game that we weren't really in. We maybe played football for about 5-6 minutes at the end of the game, and got close on a couple of occasions to scoring in that time. Managed to get one back, but ultimately, not an overly disastrous result losing against Arsenal. I think probably expected. I think tonight's show is probably going to be more about talking about the performance and whether or not we got a reaction to the FA Cup game on Saturday, which is what we really wanted going into this game. It wasn't about winning the game. It was more about showing that our season wasn't just going to peter out, because that's a big fear for an awful lot of us at the moment, that we are still pushing for Europe, and luckily for the way results have gone for us this week, we are still in the European hunt. But it's whether or not we will have the legs to do it. Let's discuss that, and we'll see how it goes. AJ, obviously, no real surprises squad wise in this one. You've pretty much called it in the previous show about going five at the back and playing it
Yeah.
that way. Um,
Only thing I was
we
wrong about was
bemoaned
Lukic being dropped.
Yeah, we bemoaned some of the performances of the players on Saturday and some of the subs that were made. We're probably going to moan about a couple of the performances in this one. You know, the starting 11 were a little bit disappointing for me in sense of the performance they put on the pitch. How did you feel watching it?
Yeah, identical to what you've just expressed. It was just a bit lackluster, to be honest. And again, I don't think it was necessarily down to the personnel on the pitch. Granted, Adama had probably one of his worst games. It seemed like every time he touched the ball, he was going in the wrong direction than what he wanted it to. But excluding Adama, who would be the one threat in the style that we played, we just seemed to, as I called in the preview, go into the game with the mentality, let's not lose it, instead of let's try and win it. Which I think was the wrong reaction to have coming out of the back of the Crystal Palace result. I guess I guess Marco's more into the slow rebuild approach in terms of squad confidence instead of the quick turnaround. But I'm not a fan. Like, it'd take us 3 or 4 games at this rate to rebuild any sort of confidence. Oh, we scored against Arsenal. Yeah, great, but we did it like well into the game, and we only did it because we gave up on the stupid tactics we were playing for 93 minutes. So yeah. Um The squads in general, as I said, there were a lot of shit performances, but most of them down to the way we set up to play. Um, Apart from Emile Smith-Rowe, who can fuck off for all I care. Um, yeah, he just seems disastrous, and I don't see what everyone else is seeing in terms of this potential talent. Like, I haven't seen anything all season. He scored one really good goal that I can remember where he beat 2 players, scored. But any player over the course of the season can do that. We've seen centre backs beat 3 or 4 players, take a long shot and hit the crossbar. Like, it's not unheard of for a professional footballer to beat 1 or 2 players. Outside of that, he doesn't create anything. He doesn't pass forward. I don't want to see him for the rest of the season. If he comes good the next season, fair enough. I'll hold my hands up. But I'd much rather see some of our young, exciting players play. For the love of me, please.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I understand that. We'll talk about Emma Smith Rowe in a minute, because it's obviously a big game for him, and we need to break down some of the gameplay that happened during the game, because there is some genuine concern about what we spent £35 million on. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Mozza, there's a lot of frustration in the game, obviously, especially in that first half performance. As good as Arsenal are, and we know at the moment they've got no fit striker, they didn't really look like they were going to do much. I don't think it's that surprising that the goal they did score came off a massive deflection that Leno could do absolutely nothing about. Even their second goal, which Saka gets, which it was written in the stars that he was going to score as soon as he came back on after injury, came after a bit of a wayward shot that he just sort of ended up on the end of. A good composed finish from him, obviously, because we've seen that our striker couldn't finish from 4 yards a little bit later. But ultimately, should we be happy that we've not got completely blown away by an Arsenal team and go, look, we weren't expecting to win, and at least we need to put it in perspective and go, not getting destroyed against the second best team in the country isn't the end of the world? Or should we be a little bit more annoyed about the fact that we probably should have done better? If certain players had turned up, we would have done better.
I think we should have done better. I can't put my finger on what the problem was, where it went wrong. First 20 minutes, we seemed up for it. It was almost like a weird repeat of the Palace game on Saturday. I say up for it, but it looked like we were more of a threat. And it worried me seeing us like that against Arsenal. And I've seen it in so many games this season where we've been like that. And then the other team have counter-attacked and we've let in silly goals or some unlucky goals, like that first one, deflection. Yeah, you can't do anything about that. They happen, but we've had an awful lot of them. So you do have to raise an eyebrow and think what's going on there in the defence when it comes to what they're doing in the box. I know obviously no one wants to handball it, so they are their arms behind their back and all that, but that shouldn't be a reason why we're letting the opposition get those shots off. I think we should be disappointed about the performance more than the result. Yes, we don't ever play teams like Arsenal, or use the phrase I hate, the top six, whoever they are, but we all know sort of roughly who they are. We never go into those games expecting to win. If we do, yeah, it's amazing. It's awesome. But I would have rather lost like 4-0, I think was my scoreline prediction when we did our preview. I would have rather lost 4-0 and the players give a much better work rate, a much better performance, show some fight. And I didn't see that. I don't even care that we scored a goal at the end. I know it meant nothing. Yeah, as you can see from my whole demeanour, I'm just at a loss, and I'm nonplussed. Right now, I've got the same attitude as the squad had going into that game, I imagine, and it's just made me not bothered. I don't know what else to say, but.
Yeah, I think that we have to look at it and go that we're at a real crossroads at the moment. We said after on the Palace preview that this game could be a real sliding doors moment for Fulham and the rest of this season, whether or not we push on and we get Europe or we don't. For me, we cannot perform like we did on Saturday against any team in the on Tuesday night, and get anything from any team in the Premier League this season. Any team with a decent striker would have scored 4 by half time. We look lackluster, and one of the biggest problems is, and there's this real want for everyone to put their arms around him, and that's ESR, and to make sure that he's known that when he's come to Fulham and there's not so much pressure. I'm really, really disappointed with his performance on Tuesday night for 2 reasons. One, I was expecting that maybe we might have seen something from him because it was his first game back at the Emirates. And the way that Arsenal fans hold him up like he's some sort of like second superstar that they wish they never sold. The performance we're getting out of him and his price tag, and we had this discussion on Sunday, just don't match up. I said on Sunday that I would be annoyed if we paid £3.5 million for him and the performances we're getting out of him. Tuesday night, I would have been annoyed if we paid £3.5 for him. Like, by half time, he hadn't made a single pass forward successfully. And when you're playing in the position that he's playing in, it's not great. Jack, AJ, you just said it about the way that Fulham was set up, and maybe that wasn't quite right on Tuesday night. Adama was the only player with any pace on that pitch, and we've got to be honest. When you've got Emile Smith-Rowe as the player that's there to back up him making those breaks, Emile Smith-Rowe looks like he's running in treacle half the time. So 3 or 4 times we saw it, and one of those times when Gabriel got injured, where he's making the breakaway, and he's looking for Fulham players around him, and naturally the striker, who obviously was Jimenez in this case, had broken forward to try and get in a position where if he gets ahead and gets to the box, he can make a cutback to me. Emile Smith-Rowe is meant to be that midfielder there supporting him if he needs to make a pass. Just looked like he was running in quicksand. He was so slow to it. And it's really just disappointing because what have we got to do to get a performance out of him at the moment? And what is the right thing to do with him at the moment? For me, he needs to be dropped for his own good. He needs to not be played for his own good. Mentally, we were all really worried about the way he's approached some of these games this season. We know it's a big thing for him. He's left, Arsenal, who are, as we keep saying, like the second best team in the country, and he's come to Fulham. There's a different expectation on you when you play for a team like Fulham than when you play for a team like Arsenal. Because, if Arsenal spend £35 million on you, you could be in the youth team. If Fulham spend £35 million on you, you have to be the man. And he looks like a teenage boy out on the pitch half the time. And it's really, really worrying how timid he seems to be on the ball and how timid he seems to be off of the ball. And if we're losing in a game, just how little bottle he has. AJ, what do we do? Like, I know you said that you don't want to see him in the starting lineup. We have to be honest, he's going to play. Marco Silva doesn't just discard players like that. That's not what he does. I know what I would do, and I know what you would do. I don't want to see him playing against Liverpool on Sunday.
What I would do is I would have left him in the fucking Emirates on Tuesday night, because it's clearly where he wants to be. It's like he felt like a fucking Arsenal player that entire game. The way Arsenal played the entire match was like watching fucking them play with 11 ESRs on the pitch. Like, you can see how intertwined he is with the Arsenal dynamic of football, and it just does not work for us. There is no urgency. There is no direct football about him. Oddly enough, the most direct player on the pitch was Martinelli, who was having a right go at Castagna, which is also unlike him. I wouldn't be surprised if you got grilled for having too much fun against Castagna from Arteta, because in the second half he seemed to ease off a little bit. It's just, I can't explain what to do with ESR, but whatever it is, it's not play football right now. Send him to send him to a club therapist, maybe. I don't know. Get him scoring hat tricks in training matches and then play him. Like, I can't see what he could possibly be doing on the training ground that can warrant him starting football games. It has to be his price tag. And to me, that's not a justifiable reason. I don't give a fuck about the money spent. I give a fuck about the performance on the pitch. I'd rather see Harrison Reed play, who will give 150%. I would rather see King play, because he'll know he's fighting for a position at a Premier League club. I'd rather see Godot play, because I know he's the same situation. Fuck me, I'd rather see Tom Cairney play, because he loves the club and knows what he's doing. It's like, I would rather see Castagna play as a central midfielder than see ESR again. And we've all said how much football Castagna has played recently. I fault Castagna for his recent performances because he's getting torn to shreds. But at the same time, I can't fault what he does for the team. He knows we've got no backup right back, and he's played every minute since. And he's working fucking hard, even if it's taking his limbs out of him. I don't see that from ESR. So Castagna, yes, like I've had a go at him in recent weeks for some of his performances, as you would do for anyone that had a shit performance. I had a shit performance at fucking 8-a-side football yesterday. I was the first to beat myself up about it, but I still did 10 kilometers yesterday over 90 minutes. Like, that's what I need to see. Honestly, I just need the miles run. I need the hard work, the dedication. Like, if all ESR ever did was sideways passes, but he was the first to win the ball back every single time when it got lost, I can forgive the sideways passes. But he's neither. He's just the sideways passes. We don't need that. We signed a number 10 to be creative, to give us options of creating opportunities. As I said to you guys after the Crystal Palace game, he has the same number of big chances created this season as our fucking goalkeeper. That is not acceptable from a creative midfield player. In League One, I don't give a fuck what
I'd be
league.
annoyed if he was my Sunday league goalkeeper. Yeah. Look, we can't keep moaning about him, right? Because ultimately we'll be here for 6 years just moaning about the fact that he's cost us a lot of money, and we just need. I'm really on the fence at the moment of whether or not he's a lost cause or not. I am on the side of we need to give him till next season to work out whether or not he really is as bad as he has been for us, right? Because it could just be a mental thing and the adjustment time. But the guy's moved from North London back to South London, where he's from. He hasn't moved to America. He hasn't moved to Spain, where he can't speak the language and doesn't know anything. Like, he shouldn't be as disjointed as he is at the moment, and that's my biggest concern. Is he looks way too disjointed. Look, there is. Let's talk about another negative for me, and it's something that we spoke about on Sunday, and it's Marco Silva's substitutions. Right, we were not working on Tuesday again. Whatever we'd set up like wasn't working again, and yet again we had to wait for the 67th minute for substitutions. And then when we got those substitutions, we got a triple substitution, which, okay, Willian coming off for Traore, that's all our pace gone. Smith Rowe coming off for Iwobi dead on his feet still. The guy needs an actual break, not starting one game. It's not good enough for me. Andres Pereira coming for Lukic was actually a bit of a shock for me. But they're not really with the other two subs because you need someone who's a bit more creative when it comes in, right?
Yeah.
They did nothing. They didn't change anything. Then in the 77th minute, we made the two substitutions that actually changed the way that we're approaching the game, where we bring on Cess and we bring on Muniz, and they both look to actually try to take the game by the scruff of the neck, and they tried to do something. It's no shock to me that Muniz comes on. Yes, he missed an easy chance from 3 yards that he'd have nightmares about, right? We'd all have nightmares about making that miss because he was trying to put it in too perfectly, and he just missed the target. But then he gets the goal. My biggest concern is Fulham's man of the match on Tuesday night was a player that came on in the 77th minute in Ryan Sessegnon. Ryan Sessegnon cannot do anything else at the moment but scream he needs to be starting games for Fulham Football Club, because the game he has started, he scored after 60 seconds. The games he's come on as a subs, he scored after 60 seconds and set goals up within the 10 minutes he's been on the pitch. He can't do much more than that. And at the moment, I wouldn't even mind seeing him come on and playing instead of ESR, because he has an attacking brain that actually works. And that's a real concern to me that Marco seems to be getting his starting wrong and his substitutes wrong. And I know people are going to be sitting there going to me, he doesn't get his subs wrong because we've scored the most goals from substitutes than anybody else in the season. Yes, that is true. We have done. But what more concerns me is how long he waits to make those substitutions. You know, sometimes we need to be a bit more proactive with that. Talking about that, this is the one positive I want to talk about, and that is Muniz. We saw him score again on Tuesday night. He's now scored at the Emirates, at Old Trafford, at Well, he scored everywhere basically. As he scored a lot of goals at big stadiums for a young player. You know, it either shows there's a real quality striker in there, or there's a lot of youthful exuberance that he doesn't really scare. He's not scared of where he plays, which is great. There's a great player there, and we should expect him to get better and better and better. But he needs to be starting more games for me. As good as he is off the bench, he needs to be starting more. Mozza, before we sort of give our final reviews of the game and give our man the matches, what do you make of Muniz as a striker? You know, are you happy that he's at the club? Do you think he needs more minutes? Do you think he understands his sort of role at the moment, which is, you know, coming in and finishing games, because he seems to be doing it well and he does seem to be scoring goals doing it?
Yeah, I like him. I've always liked him. I think there were moments, if not in this season or season before, where I was a little bit on the fence, and I think he join us sort of at a time just when Mitro was in his last season or two. There was a little bit of a crossover as far as I can remember. So I think he had him as a bit more of a senior player to bounce off of, and I think there were moments where Mitro may have seen him as his protege, and not to like over romanticize it, but the man's got passion from what I can see. Like we've seen moments where he's been in tears after scoring, he's been in tears when he's been injured, he's been in tears when he's come back, like after being out injured for so long, and he is revered by the fans. So I think that is the general feeling all around. I can't remember the age difference between him and Jimenez at the moment. Was Jimenez about 28, 29, 30? If not, I mean, there's so I can't remember. We need AJ for this one. But there's a gap.
Muniz is 21 and Jimenez is 36, right? So, like,
how old?
Jimenez is 22, if I'm not mistaken.
It's okay.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a big difference. Yeah. I mean, I love Jimenez's work rate, and he is always pissed off whenever he gets subbed off. And I could see that again on Tuesday night. And I don't think like the lack of Jimenez's goals is necessarily his fault. But I think they're not slightly. I think they are quite two very different strikers when you compare the both. And how they play. But an awful lot of it relies on the service, just having one playing up front. So I do think he needs to start more. He started most of our cup campaign as well and scored. We're not gonna bring up how that all ended, but. Yeah, you know, look, yeah, as you just said, 21, young man. We can expect great things from him, but
a little bit older than that, but still very young.
I'm sorry. I thought he was.
I was making a joke when I was saying 21, okay. 36.
All right. Well,
he's 20.
Yeah.
He's 23. His birthday is still a compound sentence, though. 2001.
Okay. All right. So yeah, he's about the same age as me. So yeah, you know, he's got lots of potential.
Yeah, I think realistically, we weren't expecting anything from the game against Arsenal, right? None of us were. We just wanted to see a performance, and that's what it is. Let's end this how we always do. We'll pick our man in the match. Super easy for me, this one. Well, hopefully it'll be a quick one going through. AJ, who's your Fulham man of the match for the game on Tuesday?
Stephen Young.
Yeah, nice and easy. And you, Moz?
EMILE Smith-Rowe, obviously. No, I was going to say that, or the purple kit we played in, but no, clearly Ryan Sessegnon, night and day.
Yeah, it's a real concern to me that a player comes on the 77th minute and wins your man of the match award. It does show that performance before that was really lacking, and we really should worry about that. Look, guys, thank you very much for joining me on this match review. You know, I know they're not positive, they've not been great at the moment, but you know, it is what it is, and we can only talk about what we're seeing in front of us. We have another episode coming out this week. It'll probably come out on Saturday morning, which will be for the Liverpool preview for the game on Sunday. So please look out for that. Thanks to everyone who has subscribed to the channel and come and joined us. It's been great to have you, and please keep sharing with your other Fulham mates, because the more subscribers we can get, the more people we can reach, the better for us. I'll see you two soon as we look to do our Liverpool review. And other than that, come on your whites.